Hi everyone, I'm your host, owner, and creator of The Mix. Welcome to my channel. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Before I continue with my discussion, reaction, opinion, and commentary about the topic at hand, I need for everyone to listen to this video from beginning to end. I'm going to drop a couple gems. I call them gems in my opinion. So listen to this video from beginning to end and also like this video, share it. And if you are not subscribed to The Mix, go ahead and join us. Join the Mixers. Subscribe right now. Subscribe. Those who are digitally passed through, just smash that subscription button and hit the notification bell. That way, everyone will be in tune with the content I drop on my channel. So for everyone, hit the notification bell. Okay, as you can see what this video is going to be about. Yes, Mr. Robert Kelly and Tory Lanez and a little bit of Bill Cosby. It behooves me, but before I dive into this, it behooves me because I just don't understand how could one support Mr. Robert Kelly but denounce Tory Lanez and say that he needs to be incarcerated or in prison, and then also vice versa. Or you can throw Cosby into the mix as well, although his situation, his cases were overturned, thank God, by the higher courts. I don't know if you all understand precedence, but that is a thing. And those who are kind of familiar with legal law, you have the statutory and procedural, and you have case law as well. So I know I'm probably speaking in legal terms or whatever, but those who are familiar, well, you know. That's why I agree with R. Kelly's, I think one of his attorneys or former attorneys, Attorney Greenberg, when he said uninformed public. Uninformed public. It just annoys me because I've had certain conversations with certain people and they just like, Tory Lanez is guilty, but free R. Kelly or vice versa. And I'm just like, do you even hear yourself? The tactics, in my opinion, procedural wise, from a prosecutorial perspective, are similar, even with the Cosby situation, although Cosby's was overturned. So that's what I'm trying to get people to understand. It's the procedural tactics from a district attorney, DA, assistant DA, prosecutorial perspective, which violates, in my opinion, their constitutional rights. So you don't want this to be case law. You don't want this to be case law or precedent. Let me go ahead and share a couple screens with you all. One is a YouTuber. He goes over precedent. And then I'm going to share another screen with you all from a legal website, just to give you all more of an idea of a sense, because it's kind of annoying and triggering when, I guess people are emotional with how they feel about each person, and you have that right. Bam, boom, you have that right. But just because it's just like, if it's something, people may like me, but if I'm going through a court situation and the system is legally wrong in terms of their prosecutorial tactics, in terms of how they're processing the case, in terms of creating this narrative that paints me out to be just, they're lying basically, or you're manipulating the narrative to fit the charges, that's wrong. But you have people who may, in the public or social wise, may not care for me, and be like, throwing a book at her. When, to be honest, I'm not guilty, and just because you don't like me doesn't mean that the prosecutors, the district attorneys are right for violating my constitutional rights to gain a conviction in whatever. And this is just a hypothetical situation. So you don't have to like me to want justice, So I hope this makes sense. But for instance, Trump, like him, I didn't vote for him. And what they are doing in terms of this bribery type of thing, because the rabbit hole runs deep on that. If you guys really do your research, who's connected to all of that, they're wrong in this instance. To me, it's a witch hunt. To me, it's abuse of prosecutorial power. To me, in my opinion, it's ethical, procedural tactics in question, and it's probably more going on behind the scene that's, of course, above my pay grade. Politics is politics. So, no, I did not vote for the former president. No, I am not a fan of the former president. But the way the New York DA is going after him in this manner is wrong. And you all do not want this to be case law. Precedence. And that's what I'm getting into. Precedence. Well, let me go ahead and share my screen.
So this video is going to really be more for my non-lawyer followers, because if you went to law school or if you're a paralegal, you probably understand how precedent works when it comes to case law and how things really get decided in the court system. But if you didn't go to law school, if you're not a lawyer, then this video is all about what it means when the Supreme Court decides a case one way versus another, and how that's important to your every single day life. So stick around and I'll dive a little bit into that.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. This guy, I think his name is Wally or something like that. He is speaking from a Supreme Court level. However, Supreme Court is considered higher courts. That's the highest court of the land in the United States. So below that is the appeals court. And that's what Mr. R. Kelly and Tory Lanez is going through, the lower appeals court. So that all of that is from the same hierarchy. So it's very important still how precedence plays a role. That's why it's very important for, if you're going to root for R. Kelly, you're going to root for Tory Lanez. You know, you're going to root for Tory Lanez, you're going to root for R. Kelly. You're going to root for Bill Cosby, you're going to root for Tory Lanez. Vice versa. You know, it's just have to, because whatever a judge or jury decides on a case becomes precedent. And let me share this other screen with you too before I kind of go back to that audio. I'm not going to share a lot of that YouTube or that channel's video, but I'm going to share a little bit more. But let me share something else with you all. Okay, this is Cornell Law School. This is a good reference. Okay, precedent. Precedent refers to a court decision that is considered as authority for deciding subsequent cases involving identical or similar facts or similar legal issues. Okay. Precedent is incorporated into the doctrine of stare decisis and requires courts to apply the law in the same manner to cases with the same facts. Okay, let that sit there. I hope you all are following me. So case precedents, when it comes to the actual law, when it comes to the narrative, when it comes to the facts, when it comes to victims, when it comes to alleged victims, when it comes whatever, it could become like this authority factor. So it's boom. If the person is found guilty, that right there becomes case law. It becomes case law. You know, so it could possibly be used in other cases. That's why I say you know, and then also the tactics. That's why I'm stating, yes, you root for one, you root for the other. Because what we don't want to happen again is that it comes back around again. The same situation applied to someone else unethically, questionably, prosecutorial tactics. Okay. Some judges have stated that precedent ensures that individuals in similar situations are treated alike instead of based on particular judge's personal views. Boom. So it can be used. They can cite this in the complaints, the criminal complaints, the civil complaints. These cases are cited. So again, they can reference Tory Lanez case. They say 5-6 years from now, oh, let's use Tory Lanez's case in this celebrity's case, you know, when it comes to prosecuting someone. Oh, let's use R. Kelly's situation, his guilty verdict, or this case law, this case situation with this new case we're prosecuting. You guys. So I hope this is kind of making sense. If the facts or issues of case differ from those in a previous case, that previous case cannot be precedent. And based off of my experience, sometimes they do. It's called something else. You could still reference the case, although it was a different outcome. You can still show kind of like, it's just like writing an essay or a research paper, how you cite your sources. That's what this is. Even if it's not in direct connection or the similarities are not super strong, it can still be cited. They get away with it. Some attorneys get away with it, prosecutors as well. So, but the thing is that having a not guilty verdict is great to have. A not guilty verdict. Because again, when that conviction is handed down, guilty, whether it be, or if you accept the plea deal, I think those are used too. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe somebody could, I don't know all this stuff off the top of my head. But, when someone is going to court and they found guilty by either a judge or a jury, it becomes reference for future cases. Similar. So that's why I'm like, if you're going to root for one, you might as well root for all. I mean, of course, you have your own decision to make, or you have your right to have your own opinion, and all of that. The freedom of thought. I'm big on that. However, it just behooves me that people are actually just listening. People are actually supporting one and denouncing the other, when, in my opinion, it's similar prosecutorial tactics. Both, in my opinion, had crappy ass trial attorneys. R. Kelly did, and Tory Lanez. I can't say the same for Mr. Bill Cosby. He was on his, because when the first time they tried him, it landed at a hung jury or something like that, or a hung jury. So, and with Mr. Bill Cosby situation, his case, the district attorney did not have to prosecute him again, because that's taxpayers' money. But he did, and then landed a conviction. So I would say, in my opinion, Mr. Cosby had a great trial team, because for the first time go around, to come back with like a hung jury that they couldn't decide or something. It had to be, I guess, dismissed or something like that. Don't know the details. I'm just going off of paraphrasing memory, whatever. But yeah. But the DA did not have to prosecute Mr. Cosby. But in my opinion, the reason why they did, it's like a witch hunt. Clearly a witch hunt. A witch hunt for political politics, political gain. I don't know. I don't know the details behind the scenes, but that's just in my opinion. So why go after him again? And if you dig deeper, I did read something, about 5-6 years ago, something like that. And I'm just throwing a number out there, something like that, some years ago, that the district attorney who prosecuted Mr. Bill Cosby ran off of and won that election off of promising to prosecute and go after Mr. Bill Cosby. So, I mean, I'm going to sit there right there. Do your own research, though. Do your own research. So, you don't think that politics, behind the scenes, political people play a role in some of these, in influence in some of these cases? I.e., Maxine Waters loves her some MTS. I'm talking about the Tory Lanez situation right now. I.e., MTS was hanging at the White House earlier this year. I.e., MTS, I think, was hanging with Bill Clinton's daughter, Kelsey, or whatever, the Clintons, a year or so ago, did some type of interview. Y'all don't think? Okay. And that's California, Democrat. Okay. So, again, and like I stated, both had crappy attorneys, Tory and R. Kelly, trial-wise. What else? The prosecutorial tactics used to gain a conviction, to me, is highly questionable. Highly questionable. So, again, you can't root for one and not root for the other. Well, you can, because it's your prerogative. But you see my points. Like, make it make sense. We're dealing with precedents here, people. Precedents. And let me go ahead and share this video.
Take a minute and kind of dive into the really basics of how that of law that get up on what is unreasonable, what is a search and what is not a search, who is a government actor and who is not a government actor. Those are all things that are not contained within the text of the statute, and so we rely on case law to try to define those terms. So when you have a case and it goes to trial, or if it's in front of a judge, that's at what we typically will call the district court level. It can be county courts at law or whatever, but for right now, for our example, we'll say that's the district court level. That's the trial court level. Above that is your first kind of circuit or court of appeals. And then every state is a little bit different on how this hierarchy works, but generally speaking, you'll have the trial court level,
Right.
you'll have an appellate court level,
Yes.
and then above that, you'll have a Supreme Court level, which is the highest court in the land.
Yep.
What case law means is that if a judge is presented a question, if a judge is presented an issue that he or she must decide, where the government says this was a reasonable search, I say, no, this was an unreasonable search, and therefore, judge, you should throw it out. What that judge is tasked with doing is looking at the decisions that the court directly above it has made on that issue in the past. Because the court is going to be bound by that, what we call precedent. Okay? If the higher court has looked at this question before, has looked at a question similar to this before, and has ruled one way or another, then the way the law works is the court underneath it is supposed to follow that instruction.
Absolutely. And that's why, again, I'm just jumping right in here. That's why we have the appeals court. And it's great to have the appeals court in situations like Mr. Bill Cosby, which the appeals court in the state of Pennsylvania overturned his case. That's why we have the appeals court. This is precedent. That's why we have the United States Supreme Court. But my thing is, from the trial court level, you don't want this to be on record. You don't want it to be. Period. Things that the judge ruled on in the trial court, it's all on paper now. It's all reference, study, case law.
So why that's important right now, as the Supreme Court is hearing these cases on abortion rights based on a Mississippi law, it's a very specific case dealing with very specific facts. The Supreme Court is hearing...
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. As you can see, okay, I hope that makes sense to you all. You can go over, and that's an attorney, a senior associate. My apologies, I stand correct. The guy, he's an attorney, senior associate. But could be for those who are not familiar with the process, the judicial process, legislative process. It could be quite complex. It's definitely a lot to unpack, but nevertheless, again, all of this becomes case law. All of it does. So if you're rooting for one and not the other, it makes no sense, because it can come back around. That's all I'm saying. It can come back around, and it might be at your doorstep, and it might be referenced in your situation or your loved one's situation. So this is called precedence. And as you heard the attorney state about the Supreme Court looking at one state, the state in their decisions on abortion rights and laws, or a case, and that's what they do. They go and find these cases, you guys. Okay, I'm trying to just tell you guys. So it's not Tory Lanez stuff now is on file. It's case law. R. Kelly stuff is case law. Bill Cosby's is case. We don't want all of this. We don't. The prosecutors, they're it's questionable ethical behaviors and tactics that's highly in question. And these are people's lives. And when it's highly in question, you're thinking, hey, was the person's rights violated? Constitutional rights. Because as a citizen of this United States, your constitutional rights should be protected at all costs, all avenues. But yeah, so what are your thoughts? Again? I just had to drop this video because I've been a little irritated in certain conversations, and I'm just confused. But I have to remind myself, when you're uninformed, like Berg said, when an uninformed public trying to decide or say this and that all on Twitter or other different IG, other different platforms, social media platforms, then this is what you get. It's like the trending type of uninformed information via trends. The person is clearly uninformed. So it's very important, because it sets precedents, examples. that they reference in cases. That's why this is dangerous. You're supposed to color inside the lines. Prosecutors, DAs, they do. State's attorneys. Do they color inside the lines all the time? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They do a lot of things that's questionable that violates people's constitutional rights. Yeah, even law enforcement. They're all in the same community. Even judges do it. So they do it by intent, in my opinion, and in some instances, there's a competency level of concern, whether it be not only intentional but unintentional and not knowledgeable in certain areas as an attorney. So that's just something to think about, but there's no excuse. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. So they should be held accountable as well, whether it's intentional or unintentional in terms of violations of someone's constitutional rights while prosecuting a case, as far as procedural and all of that. But yeah, so like this video, share this video, drop a comment. Let's get the discussion going. What are your thoughts when some people may be for this person and not for the other person because they like a certain person, but they can't remove their emotions to really kind of look at the situation kind of from a logical perspective? Like I said, with the former President Trump, I don't care for him. I didn't vote for him. But the prosecutorial tactics is wrong. It's wrong. And you all should be concerned. It's wrong because that will be used as an example. It's wrong. That right there is wrong. It's other stuff. Be able to have a successful prosecutorial, a successful prosecution if they go after him for something else or whatever. It might be more legit than what they're doing now. So that's just my take on it. Like, share, subscribe to the mix. Like, share, subscribe. I will talk to you all soon. Bye.